Time to figure out why this thing is leaking profusely. And I was hoping I would come out here and fire it up and it would just be fixed, but the battery's dead as a doornail. So if you're new here, let me get you up to speed. I just pulled the engine and the transmission out of this car just 5,000 miles ago because I bought this car for 1,500 bucks with a bad transmission. I knew that going into it and I was prepared. So basically the first thing I did to this car was pull the engine and the transmission out as one unit, replaced everything I could touch with brand new OEM Toyota parts. And here we are 5,000 miles later with a front oil leak that's so bad I can't even drive the car. It's truly insane. Just out of nowhere started leaking and I don't know why exactly. So while we wait the 6 hours or whatever for the trickle charger to get this battery back to life, I'm gonna go ahead and start tearing parts off the front of this because I wanna see if the leak is coming out of the VVTi section in the cam gears or anywhere around here before I go digging all the way down into the bottom of the engine, because my hunch is that it's the front crank seal that's right behind the crank pulley, but the downside of that is that literally everything has to come out. Wow, look at there. Both of my tins are where they belong. Woo! I was on there tight for some reason. Wonder who could have done that. Wow, this is way harder to do with the belts on and the pulley in the way. It's like 3 seconds to get this thing off when that stuff's not there. Okie dokie. All right, so here on the cam cover, we are seeing some spots of oil on this gasket that goes on it. I'm not seeing a smoking gun on this side. I mean, that was a little bit wet with oil. I kind of just dried it up to see how much it actually was. The kind of VVTi gear itself right in here, that's a little bit oil slick, but I mean, all of this stuff is, you know, right in and touching oil. Doesn't look like any of that spot is leaking, like the FIPG where the half moons are and that seal on this cam cap right there are all good to go. The alternator's still dry, so it's not making its way down there. So I don't think the cause is this side. So let's check this one and then hope that we find something wrong there so that we don't have to continue tearing down into the engine. Same story on the other side, really nothing of note here. And I don't think there's anything crazy down there either. All right, so I pulled a bunch of other stuff off, got the power steering and the alternator off, got the cover and the belt tensioner. And as you can see down near that big silver pulley, there's some more oil in there. There's a little bit inside of the pulley itself. And then it's hard to see what else is going on down there, but it doesn't look good. I think we're about to find bad news bears. So I'm really not sure. The next bit of stuff that has to come off, which kind of sucks, is there's 3 bolts on the AC compressor, and then that has to come off this little clip right here down there. That has to come off that little black thing so that then that can dangle, and then the fan bracket can come off. And then actually, if you look at the fan bracket, you know, there's more of that same goop. That looks like the coolant and oil mix since we have this problem right here. I'm kind of contemplating if I want to try to start it because I don't think it's going to prevent me from starting it. I think it'll be really angry. I can reconnect the cam position sensor here, and then the accessories of course are not going to work, so the battery's not going to charge, power steering's not going to run, we'll have a vacuum leak. But I think running it will give me a clue as to where it's coming out now that I can see this better, and it's been a while, enough time that the battery died, so some of this oil could be dried up and I'm not seeing what I think I should be seeing. So it's way greasier than last I left it, as you can see, and where it looks like that, oh man's ripping down the road, where it looks like it's coming out of is right here. So that's right where this upper oil pan meets the block. But the problem is you can't get this upper pan out because the subframe is in the way, which is glorious. So that's why I went ahead and pulled all this stuff off while the engine was out of the car. I got both pans off and resealed. I did the front oil pump. I did everything. But for some reason, it's just absolutely gushing out of there. I want to try to see if I can turn the engine over just to see if I can identify where it's coming out specifically. Because of course, when I dig even further and take the timing belt off, we're not going to be able to move the engine at all anymore. And of course, there would be no way for me to generate enough oil pressure spinning the engine over manually. Even with an impact gun, I'm not sure that I could get it to spin over at whatever it would be, 300 RPM or something. So this is just terrible. And it's so hot, I had to set up my canopy. Horrible. But I really want to make this car right, so it's only one way forward. Let's get to tearing bits off this car. All right, let's get these fan shroud bolts out. There's 3 underneath. Oh, I forgot there's like this whole maze of stuff over here, like hoses and plastic clips that get in the way. I don't understand why this radiator fan would be built in such a way where this plastic bracket goes underneath this box. So then you can't pull it up because this part of the radiator is in the way. Oh, why? Okay, so next up are just those two transmission cooler lines that go into the radiator, and then we can pull this all the way out. And I want to go ahead and do that. It just gives me so much more space down here to work in this area, and later when we try to get the crank pulley off, I'm going to have to use my giant impact, which means this needs to be out of the way. Okay, so I was about to go ahead and disconnect those transmission lines in the radiator down there, but then I realized that if I want to turn the engine over, I need to go ahead and leave those connected because I think the transmission might pump a little bit and I don't want it to just spit fluid everywhere. So I put those back in. But there's a bunch of stuff missing. I don't think any of it is going to be a problem for trying to turn it over, at least. Everything's still in time. I haven't touched any of that. The accessories are not going to spin. The crank pulley will spin, but that's no big deal. And then I think we're good. So I went ahead and unplugged a bunch of the connectors in here. Those are going to be for, like, you know, ignition and fuel and stuff. Obviously it's not going to start now, but I want to see where that leak is coming from. I want to have some fresh oil in there so I know, because it's been a while since I've tried to run the car. So let's see what happens. Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Time to do some sketchy shit. All right, so let's see if that was enough to make the leak happen again. No. All right, we're gonna backtrack a bit. I went ahead and plugged that stuff in. Seems like the starter, even turning it over, isn't enough to cause the leak to happen again, which validates my point even further that I would not be able to replicate this by hand. So it almost seems like I need to let the engine start real quick, see if the leak happens, and then who knows, maybe I just did all this for nothing and the car magically fixed itself in the last month. Probably not, but maybe. You never know. This car is cursed after all. It's gonna be really, really angry if it starts. That did not sound good. That sounded like a knock. That sounded awful. That sounded absolutely awful. Didn't that sound like a knock? What the it's certainly not a good sound. Certainly not a noise you want your car to be making. I mean, it has oil, I think. I guess we better check that. The front side of the dipstick is to be believed. There's more than enough in there. The back side doesn't look so hot, but I mean, the car is tilted up right now. Well, actually, now that I did it again, I guess if there's no oil to puke out, then that might be what that was. That is not good. Okie dokie. The thing that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever about this is I haven't touched this car since the last time you saw it. I posted that last video where it was gushing oil out of the front. I mean, I ran the car in that state for maybe 30 seconds. So was that enough to puke 5 quarts of oil, four and a bit quarts of oil out of it? Maybe, but I haven't touched it. So where did the rest of it go? There's been no puddles on the ground. I'm so confused. Did it gush enough out that it basically ran itself low on oil and then the leak just stopped just now? That's why we're not seeing it, because there is no oil to gush out. I think I can just unplug all this so the engine doesn't actually start next time again, put some oil in it and see what happens. And of course I only have 75W90, which technically you can use as engine oil in a pinch, but this thing is sealed. I don't really want to open that. Got a bunch of ATF, because my cars love to leak ATF. Got a bunch of used oil over here. Okay, now I really need to know how much oil is actually in it. So let's just go ahead and open this up. I already cracked it loose. Let's just see together how much oil is in here. That's a good bit of oil. There should be no reason the pickup couldn't get that. Where's the hole? Okie dokie, so there is oil in it. What is the problem? Okie dokie, so I unplugged the ECU stuff because we now know certainly that we do not want that engine to turn over, or, you know, turn itself on. Let's just crank it a bit more. Any leaks? There's some coolant dripping on the ground, but there is no oil. What the hell, dude? This car is seriously cursed. Oh my God. I'm about to do something you should never, ever do to your car. See that? That's used oil, baby. We're about to put that back in this motor. Why not? What's the worst that could happen at this point? Probably a lot of bad stuff, but we're gonna party. All right, so I'm gonna put 3 quarts. This is a very full jug. I wanna put 3 quarts in it so we have something to work with. I mean, this oil came out of this engine, so it shouldn't be that bad. No! No! Okay, that's worse than I thought. Oh, damn it. I didn't hold it sideways because I'm an idiot. God, I'm an idiot. This was a dumb idea to begin with, obviously. Well, that went pretty badly, and that is to say exactly as planned. So now we should have enough oil in there to turn the engine over and hopefully replicate the leak, and then we'll go from there. Who knows what this car is gonna throw at us next. Okie dokie, so I just turned it over a bunch without these connectors connected, so it just was turning the engine over, and there's no leak again. So let's plug everything back in and listen to our friend Mr. Rodney again. I'll put you over here so you can enjoy seeing the camshafts spinning. Okie dokie. Did I not plug these in all the way? Yeah, I certainly did. Now the car just doesn't start. That's cool. This makes absolutely no sense. Why would it start and then sound like it has a rod knock and then not start anymore? There's the leak, it's back. See if we can see it better. Yeah, I mean, we already knew it was coming from there, so really no surprise. We gotta tear it down even further. Ah! I think at this point, I'm just gonna hope that it's the front main seal right behind the crank pulley there and not the upper pan. And so we're gonna have to just go ahead and tear off all of the timing components so that we can get to that point, because we have to take off, let's see, we gotta get the pulley off, take this fan bracket off, get the AC compressor out of the way, get the belt and the tensioner off, but it looks like it's about to storm. This canopy is gonna get blown away because I don't have it mounted down to anything. It's always something, always something. I guess I'm gonna report back when I get these timing components off, because you guys have already watched me do that once. There's some oil being slung around there, so I guess oil, oh yeah, look, there's even more right there. So I guess it's landing on the belt somehow, and then it's getting slung around, which is why we saw those cam covers, those covers right there, coated in oil before. Classic Florida in the summertime, just a rain shower comes out of nowhere. And you're probably wondering, Jonathan, you have a garage, what are you doing? Well, I knew that if I got to the point where I had to pull this engine out, that the engine crane goes up so high, it ends up hitting the roof of the garage over here. And if I do it back there, I have no space, because the car has to be like basically all the way up as far as it can go. The back end is right here, and then the front is so long it almost touches my toolbox over there. So that's why I'm suffering outside. I love acting like I'm doing timing jobs unnecessarily. As you can see, compressor is off, the idler fan bracket is out of the way, got the idler pulley off, which was blocking the bolt to get that off, and now what I need to do is get the radiator out so I can take the crank pulley off, take that plastic cover off, and then we'll have our first look at what's going on down there. And you're gonna tightly, tightly, tightly cross your fingers for me and us that it's the front main seal and not the pan. But how will we know that? I do not know. Getting our first little peek down in here, and as you can see, that's the water pump with the ASIN logo on it, and it is oily. It is wet, wet, wet in there, and not the good kind. Giant impact for the crank pulley, non-impact socket will make do. And I broke my hearing protection last time I was working on something in a fit of rage, which I'm now very annoyed at myself for doing. So this is gonna be loud. Oh, that was easy. My regular impact probably could have done that. Such a weird looking bolt. It's like the shank is like thinner in the center and then it threads in. I don't know. Toyota tings. What's in the box? What could it be? Do you want to... Can't see anything. Oh boy. Yet still no further clues. I mean, now that I'm here, I gotta take the... Well, now I gotta put the crank bolt back in, turn the engine over so that everything's all lined up. We're actually pretty close. That's the mark right there. I'm pretty sure that needs to go over to the T mark. And then we can slide that pulley off. But I mean, now that we're in here, I mean, you can see it's like pulled right there. So actually, I guess if it's pulling right there, it probably means coming from there. I don't know. Maybe we need to start it up one more time before I take the timing belt off and look. I think we have to, honestly. Okay, so I had to put the timing wheel back on because, of course, if the crank position sensor right there doesn't have signal, the car's never going to start. And also, I obviously had to put the pulley back on to make sure things don't go kaboomy. Tighten it down, and I think I'll still be able to see right in there where I want to see, right behind that golden wheel and that pool that we just looked at. So I'm gonna put the battery back on, and then we will see what we see. Time to do more sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Time to do more sketchy shit. Oh, da-doo-dah. Oh god, transmission fluid everywhere. I'm an idiot. Oh. Ah. God, so stupid. I even accounted for that earlier. What an idiot I am, dude. I made such a mess and I don't have any kitty litter. Okie dokie. Hooked up the transmission cooler lines back to the radiator again, and it's raining once more, but let's go ahead and try it again because I really want to know where the leak is coming from specifically. I don't want to go in blind. Okie dokie. We made a monumental mess in here. Everything is covered in oil. I had to do it though. I had to see where that was coming from, and I think I can say with certainty now that it is coming out of that front seal and not the upper pan, which is amazing news. That means the engine does not have to come out if that's the case, which it certainly appears to be, because I can see it gushing over that big lip there behind that gold cog, like over and down it. So let's continue tearing timing components off. Okay, so just like before, I went ahead and moved the crank past TDC, and when the engine was out, we lined up those T marks. This one is a little bit ahead, and that one is dead on. Obviously the engine runs fine, so I think that's totally cool. But I wanted it a little bit past TDC, so in case the cams jump when the belt comes off, we don't have major valve damage, but that should be fine. Really all we need to do from here is just take this crank pulley back off, undo the tensioner, and then the belt should just slip right off, and then we'll have access to that front seal finally. Tensioner is off, so this stuff should just slide right off here. And I realized two things. One is that I don't have the pin for the tensioner, so I don't know exactly. Oh, is this stuck in here? Genius. I've been worried that the cam marks are gonna come off of this belt, and it looks like they already have. It's so oily. Look at this. How is this belt so oily? God. Anyway, so that's something cam right there. Can't see what it says, and then there are no other markings on it. I mean, of course, the logo is still there, but I looked earlier and you can't buy this Mitsubishi belt just by itself. And like I said, I don't have the pin for the tensioner, so I don't know how I'm gonna work that. But that's the least of our problems now. So let's get this thing off here and see what is the dealio. What is the dealio? Oh, one thing I noticed is that there is a pretty big gouge in the end of this crankshaft snout. It's on the underside now. You can't see it. It's somewhere over here, but as you can see, that crank cogwheel did not want to come off. And all of that, I mean, granted, like, it's gonna be hard to see if there's like a pinhole leak or something, but that seal definitely is not happy. And I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off because I pulled the whole oil pump off. That's what that is right there, that ASIN mark. I think earlier I said that's the water pump. That's not true. That's the oil pump. I mean, it has to be just pouring out of that part down there. There's just no way it would be doing anything other than that. The thing that's kind of giving me pause at this point is like, why would that front seal be gushing out oil? Clearly there's some bit of pressure that's too high, or the seal was improperly installed, which is possible for sure, but the oil pump has a set ring inside where that seal slides into. There's a point where it stops the seal from going any further. So it shouldn't be too deep, and it also shouldn't be too far forward because of course that crank pulley is gonna push everything together. So why would that be the case? Well, I guess there could be something wrong with the oil pump itself, pushing too much pressure. Maybe there's a bypass seal and it's just letting it blow out that front crank seal, which maybe is the next weakest point. Even that though, I'm not quite convinced is the case. I'm not sure. I mean, I did do something which may be kind of questionable. I put the oil pump without disassembling it through my ultrasonic cleaner. Maybe that's it. That kind of feels stupid in hindsight. So I could have blown out some seals in there possibly, but why would that take 5,000 miles to happen? That doesn't make sense to me. Another possible theory that is probably not the case, but it is possible. I mean, the oil pump pushes to the oil filter, and this is a Toyota OEM filter, but it's possible the filter's bad and it's causing so much pressure it can't get, you know, through there, backing up and then pushing out the seal. So I really don't know what to make of it at this point. And once again, it's starting to rain, so this is the perfect spot for me to stop. If you have questions, comments, theories, anything like that, drop them in the comments below. If you've made it this far, I genuinely really appreciate your support. If you have any questions, theories that you want to add, or you know, just thoughts about this project, let me know. Also, if you want to support the channel, check out timetowrench.com. It's the car repair tracking app that I built. It's a one-time purchase. It's only 19 bucks right now, and it directly supports the channel. None of that is going into my personal bank account. It's going into projects like this. So anyway, until next time, I'll see you then. Peace. Or peace.